So I love cartwheels because it's one of the most fundamental movements you can learn in acrobatics. It's, maybe something you did a lot as a kid, just for fun, just to get upside down, just to get dizzy. But I think it's an important movement for adults to learn. I think, honestly, anybody should be able to do a cartwheel because it teaches you a lot about momentum, flexibility, coordination. It's a great way to play and have fun. And it's pretty low risk, right? Not only is it low risk, but there are so many different variations that you can challenge yourself as much as you need to continue going further within that skill and deeper into kind of higher level acrobatics. But without rambling on too much, the purpose of this video is what I would consider the most beginner friendly cartwheel variation. So if I was teaching somebody from nothing, because a lot of people say they're beginners, there's always different levels of beginners, but a lot of people are going to say, I've never done a cartwheel before, or maybe they'll say, I haven't done a cartwheel since I was a kid in many years. So this is typically the first variation I'd give them, how I would explain it, and then the basic progressions from there. So either if you're a beginner and you want to learn a cartwheel and you're not sure where to start, or maybe you're a teacher and some of your clients want to learn the skill, or it's something that you want to train with them, this is a good way to do it. Or maybe you just want to play around with your kids and they're doing cartwheels and you want to join them. This is, again, a good way to start introducing yourself to the concepts of the movement and then finding a way to gradually ramp up the challenge. So the cartwheel can seem intimidating sometimes to watch, again, maybe for people who haven't done it in a long time or aren't sure that they're capable within their bodies. So ideally you want something eventually that goes over the top like this, but not everyone's ready to handle that from the beginning. So there's ways to work up to that, just to build comfort, to build confidence, to understand the rhythm, the momentum, how to hold yourself. So this is how I would typically teach the most, what I would consider at least one of the most beginner versions of the cartwheel. There's no prerequisites. I mean, you might want to do some wrist, ankle, just some basic body warm up, but this is how it's going to work. So right now I'm pretty high up. So if I reach for the floor is really far away. So what I'm going to do is lean forward, get myself a little bit off balance, and I'm going to start reaching my hands down for the floor in front of me and just see where my flexibility lies. How much do I need to bend my knee to get my palms flat, put the weight down, right? I can transfer the weight. So this position is actually really important, and being able to stand up from it, right? So being able to transfer weight into the hands, back to the foot, and standing up. This is a very basic concept that's going to be important for finishing the cartwheel. So reaching, finding the floor. Maybe we can do some of these guys, right? I'm just kicking my legs. I'm keeping them low, but I'm getting used to that timing of the kick and the jump. Whoa. I'm getting used to landing. If I'm feeling good, I can also try to transfer weight and stand up. So it's not a handstand by any means. It's not even close to a handstand. What I'm trying to do is understand the transitions, because the cartwheel is not a handstand either. It's, I think of it as an extension of falling. It's like you're falling, you go through your hands, and then you're standing up again. So you're not really staying on your hands. And it's the same idea here. You just find within your proportions, within your flexibility, within your comfort level, what is your preferred distance of putting your hands on the floor, being able to transfer weight to your hands, switching legs, and that timing. So I kick the leg and then I jump. And if I feel good about it, I can get more extension. But again, if I'm teaching a complete beginner, I'm not necessarily expecting that. I just want to build comfort with the movement, build comfort with momentarily holding the weight in the hands and transferring the weight. And two of the common mistakes that you're going to see here that it's good to be aware of early on. One is this, where somebody falls back. So try to keep the shoulders on top of the hands. It's still momentary, but see how my shoulders don't move when I do that kick. I kick, and then I transfer the weight. Second mistake you'll see sometimes is maybe a collapse. So sometimes it's strength related, but I find more of the time it's psychological and technical, more so than it is raw strength, because you're not really holding yourself for a long time. It's not a full handstand. It's not a push-up position. So just make sure you're pushing the floor away, keeping very steady. And then with this landing as well, because that's gonna be really important for the actual cartwheel finish, is try not to land too far away like this. See, it's very heavy and it's very hard to stand up if I do that. So when I land, I want to put my foot right underneath my hip. I'm rolling through my foot. I bend my knee and I can make that transfer pretty easy. It takes a little bit of flexibility, but less than you might think. But that's generally the cue that I have to give a lot, is you want to kick the leg closer than you think. If you land far away, I can't transfer the weight to my foot. But if I land here, very easy to stand up after. So after the preliminary movements of just building comfort, transferring the weight, we get to the cartwheel itself. So we take as many steps as we need to, and we separate them as much as we need to, so you can build comfort throughout the whole movement. So one leg in front. You're going to have a favorite side. I recommend learning it on both sides eventually, but in the beginning, you don't want to confuse yourself with which leg is which. So typically, it's not always the case. I'm right-handed, so that means my right leg is the one that's going to kick back, which means my left foot starts in front. If you're left-handed, you can switch. Just because you're right-handed, you still might actually prefer to do a left-handed cartwheel, so it's not necessarily 100% correlation, but I'll go through this mistake later on of what happens when somebody either switches sides mid-cartwheel or not sure which side they do. So you're going to have one foot in front. You're going to bend to get a little bit lower. You're going to fall forward slightly, reach the hands for the floor, and right before the hands touch the floor, you're going to turn like this, 90 degrees. You don't want it to be too close to your leg. You want it to be about the same distance as you had in that handstand preparation. So reach, turn 90 degrees, put both hands on the floor, and then you have this position, which is basically 4 points of contact. And make sure also, some people do this, kind of the breakdance hand. I don't know how clear that is in frame. With the knuckles down, make sure your hand is flat. If you land wrong and you're doing that knuckle support and you fall back on your thumb, it's not going to be a good day for you. So, and I know this from experience. So reach, turn. Now this is what's going to happen next. So that leg that's in the back, it's my right leg. I'm going to kick and I'm going to try to land across so it's further than that far hand, which is my right hand. So from here, I land like this. That's it, right? That's basically the cartwheel. I'm not on my hands for very long, so I'm not really supporting my full weight. And I'll show you from this angle. So what happens, eventually we want it all to be on the same line, but as the beginner variation, you're going to reach and the hands are going to go a little bit out to the side like this because it creates the space. And I'm landing the leg, the right leg, which is the one in the back, like that, right there. And now I'll get into common mistakes in a little bit. But what you want to think about is the second leg continues that momentum and I stand up. So I'll show you a bunch from different angles. Again, if I'm working with a complete beginner, I'll have them stop in each position. I'll have them separate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just like that. And you do that slow like that as many times as you need to till it starts to become more automatic. And then you can do it a little bit faster, a little bit smoother, where you're still going into it slow. I'm still controlled. I reach like that. I'm still doing all of those transitions. I'm just doing them more smoothly so it becomes more of a rhythm, more of a momentum in the cartwheel. And the legs can be as low as you need them to. The landing, I'll talk about this later on as well, because there are a couple of mistakes people tend to make when they land, and they end up being a little bit heavier than they need to. But other than that, there's really no rules. You don't have to have locked arms. You don't have to have straight knees for now. It's just that the trajectory of going forward, maintaining that momentum, feeling the rhythm, and feeling this transfer from one hand to the other. That's it. That's going to be the basic cartwheel. Once you can do that basic cartwheel, do it a lot. Do many, many reps. More reps than you think you need to. Because it kind of goes with a lot of this skill learning in general. You want to do as many reps as you need to make it automatic so that you don't have to think about it. So when you start adding further complexity, you don't collapse your structure, you don't make these mistakes because you're still thinking about what to do. So yeah, that's going to be the basic cartwheel, and I'll talk a little bit about mistakes and progressions, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, common mistakes that you're going to see in this beginner cartwheel, and just ones to be aware of and look out for and then eventually fix. So one really common one is when somebody doesn't go all the way through. So even though my body is at an angle and my hands are not in line with my legs, I'm still traveling forward. If you look at it from this angle, see my trajectory still goes forward because the cartwheel is an extension of that. The way I like to teach the cartwheel is, as I mentioned, it's this forward fall. So as I enter it, I want to eventually be a little bit off balance when I get here. So I put my hands down in front, but this is what the mistake looks like before I get off topic. It's when somebody doesn't finish the forward momentum. Stop halfway in the cartwheel and then land kind of like this instead of past the hands and between the hands. So you want to kick all the way through. I think in terms of trajectory, my back leg goes all the way past the hands. This is really important because if I kick, let's say I do a handstand, I don't have to kick all the way over. So if I were to do a cartwheel and kick and I didn't finish that kick, it would stop and I would land halfway, but it's not a complete cartwheel. It's not going to feel smooth. It's going to be a broken rhythm, and you're not going to be able to utilize it for tumbling progressions, for handstand bailouts, for things like that, which is very important use of the cartwheel. Another common mistake is heavy landing, or maybe not the best possible landing position. So when I land my foot directly underneath my hips. I turn so that my foot, trying to show the best angle for this, maybe this way. I turn so that my foot is facing the momentum where I came from, because I can kick my leg a lot higher like that. If I have my foot turned in a weird direction, it actually blocks off my hip. And making sure that I don't land with a straight leg, or that I bend my knee when I land. So every time I land that cartwheel, whatever bend I already have in my knee, I always bend it a little bit further, because that bend helps to absorb and it helps to keep the cartwheel softer, smooth, more silent, and ultimately it's going to feel better when you don't have that thud and that impact from landing. So another common mistake is landing on the wrong leg. So remember, it's the back leg that should go all the way over. But what happens sometimes is people do like this. They land with their front leg because it seems like it's already closer. So it's a way to think that you're shortening the movement, but actually, again, you're cutting off the rhythm and you're closing off your body instead of leaving it open, because eventually you can get a lot of power whipping that back leg all the way over. So make sure that it's the back leg that lands like this. It's a different kind of cartwheel. It's not wrong. There's nothing that's really wrong, but in this kind of cartwheel, the body is really closed. See, I'm always like here, for example, I'm open to the camera, but if I do like this, I'm always closed to the camera. And it's not, again, as a basic cartwheel, it's not something that I want to build a habit of, because if I am using it to bail out of a handstand, or if I am using it for more advanced tumbling progressions, I want to make sure that it's the back leg that lands. So try to avoid this, kick the back leg all the way over. And then another common mistake that you'll see is someone either switching sides. It's usually not intentional. Sometimes they're just not sure. So this is what switching sides look like. So my left leg is in front. If I take my hands to the right, and that is one of the things that can actually lead to landing on the wrong leg, which I just discussed. But if I'm going here, it's like I don't know which side I'm supposed to go on. So basically, whatever leg is in front, you're going to turn the hands in that same direction, so you're opening. Right here I'm closing, if that makes sense. And then the leg goes all the way over. So just remember, again, as a kind of rule to follow, it doesn't matter what hand you are. If your left leg is in front, then your left hand goes first, right hand goes across. Right leg is in front is opposite, right, left. So you have that turn, that rotation. And then finally, we want to talk about how to progress after you've learned the basic cartwheel. So first, and again, this goes for a lot of different skills, don't try to do the next thing right away. Once you learn the thing, stay there for a while, get comfortable with it. You do the basic cartwheel, do it in a line, do them in a row, do it casually when you're walking around. If you're taking a capoeira class, you might do it with a partner, looking at each other. It's a little bit of a different technique. For now, I suggest kind of looking at the floor between your hands, just so you know your bearings, but it's something else that you can apply. And then again, once you start to understand that rhythm, you can add more height and more extension. So in the beginning, it's safer to kick the leg low, but as you improve, you start to kick a little bit more up. So instead of like this, more like this. So then the cartwheel gets higher and you get a little bit more airtime on the hands. The rhythm is the same, but you're further off the floor. So it's the little bird is now flying a little bit further from the nest. So it's going to continue to look like this. I'm still at a slant, but I'm starting to kick my legs higher, and then the next thing I can start to focus on is more body extension. So in the beginning, it's natural to tuck to keep the legs bent, partly because maybe it's a flexibility restriction, partly because you feel more protected, you feel safer. To open is more commitment, but then as you get better, you start to stretch it out. So you start to extend the legs and open the body. And then you can think about, okay, what about my spacing? Maybe I can try to make it longer, right? Take up more space, make it bigger. There's no right or wrong, it's just a different option. And then you have the control. I can keep it in the same spot, I can keep it small, I can make it big. But generally you're gonna first learn it small and then get bigger and bigger. And then as you get more comfortable with more of that extension, you're gonna change the kick angle a little bit so it goes completely up. So in the beginning the kick is like this, and it gets more sideways. And in the final version, which you eventually want to lead up to, because when you can do the cartwheel straight over the top, that opens up the potential for a lot of other moves where the legs go completely over the head and it follows a straight line. So in order to do that, you have to kick the leg straight back like this, leading with the heel. So the progression is you go down and then you go a little bit higher and a little bit higher and a little bit higher, and then eventually it's the highest you can go when the leg goes all the way up. And try to watch out for any obstacles that you may have in your space. So, like that. Like that. So this is the progression for the basic cartwheel, how to learn it as a beginner, because I think there's not a lot of complete beginner tutorials. A lot of people don't need this because they have the coordination and they can figure it out pretty easy. But a lot of people, again, either they've never done a cartwheel or they just haven't done it in a long time since they were young. And again, I think it's a great move to learn, just to be able to play around with. It's low risk. There's a lot of use in having that coordination. And it's fun. You don't have to take your fitness training or whatever you want to do. You don't have to take it seriously. And this is a great way to start building that concept. And then again, once you have it, even the basics, just do this, like combine it, roll, whatever. Combine, do your cartwheel, start to create combinations. There's nothing that you can do wrong. Just the more different ways you can do it, the more beneficial it's going to be. So those are some of my thoughts on learning cartwheel as a beginner. Again, I'm not treating this as some kind of universal technique that everybody needs to follow. As always, it's just my perspective, which is based on my experience and my observation in teaching and training. And I've worked with a lot of different kinds of students. So yeah, I hope you found this helpful, either for yourself or for your kids or for your clients or for whoever you want to share cartwheels with. Again, I can't say enough about everybody should be able to cartwheel. The older you are, the more reason you should be able to cartwheel. So yeah, I hope this inspires more people to get out there, get upside down, kick their legs over their head, not take things too seriously, and just enjoy more of their training. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, you can give it a like, share, thumbs up, subscribe, whatever. If you want to check out my handstand ebooks and courses, feel free. I'm running workshops in person again, so if you're interested in setting something up, you can contact me directly. Other than that, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.